Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
and my other co-host of the day.
You're just meeting me now, Grandma Aileen.
I'm with two grandmas right now, you guys. This is crazy. Well, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. This is fun. By the way, I think the two of you are great. I love it. I can't wait till Thursdays. And I run to put it on.
That's so cute because a lot of the time, a lot of our listeners and my friends will be like, what does your other grandma think of Excuse My Grandma?
Well, now she's gonna tell you in no uncertain terms what she thinks.
Exactly. What is your biggest feedback, do you think, from listening to the podcast so far?
Some are great, and some are eh.
Really? You don't have to say which ones, but how come?
No, I like the men because they're very sensible. They give a different perspective, and I think they're interesting.
Well, I want to hear more about, before you met Poppy Al, my other grandpa, what was your dating life like during that time?
College is when I really stepped out because you have to believe that I was 16 when I went to Cornell.
That is so crazy.
So it was so young that I had to be very careful and I had to be sure of the relationship. And in those years, we had tremendous guilt. You could not sleep with the guy. You just couldn't.
Why was that?
Because your mother and your grandmother would kill you.
And you'd get pregnant.
Right.
That was the other problem. So you certainly weren't going to go sleep around. And Grandma Aileen turned out she's your working grandma. She has all the brains.
No.
Yeah, she is.
No.
And she worked and she developed a terrific career. But more important, she should tell you, she fixed up your parents.
Whoa, I did so with Grandma Gail. We both did. Your dad was a freshman at
No, a
Tufts.
sophomore.
Well,
I'm
a freshman
correcting
at
you
Tufts.
now.
No.
This is what we do.
No,
You see? This
no,
is
no,
two
no.
grandmas.
I'm backtracking. I'll tell you why. He was a freshman at Tufts, and his girlfriend from high school broke up with him.
Oh.
And he was miserable. And he couldn't function. And he didn't like any of the freshman girls because the freshman girls wanted the sophomore and senior guys. So when Gail and I had mutual friends and we went to the U.S. Open the summer after his freshman year, we met a mutual friend who said, I know who's going to Tufts next year, and I think we should introduce them. And so we both thought it was a great idea. And I must say this to you, Kim, the minute your dad saw your mom, he said to us, I'm going to marry that girl. So it was really love at first sight. Agree?
See, that is true, Aileen. And we were just talking about it in the episode before, how you fall in love. And if love is instantaneous or it's a buildup. In this case, they were smitten with each other,
Gail,
not necessarily
did Barbara
in love.
say the same? Did my mom say the same thing?
Oh, she was crazy about him. Oh, yes, right from the beginning. But I think, and I have to ask Aileen what she thinks about this. I think was a different time even then because we didn't have phones.
Let's put it in perspective, the 80s.
Right. You didn't have the phones. You didn't have what we've been discussing constantly, the texting and the Instagram. So you had to deal with relationships and they talked on the phone. It was a very, they still dated. It wasn't all this bantering on your text, whether to build up to a date.
So do you think that's the best way to meet your future husband or wife, to be set up by family?
Not necessarily. It worked then. It does still work. But there were so many other opportunities now that I think that it's much more fun, but it's also much more frightening.
What are you referring to, like a dating app or a bar? Or?
Well, we didn't go to bars, right?
Exactly.
No.
We didn't. That's what we've discussed. There were no
We
bar
went
scene.
to temple dances. And we went to fraternity parties because at Cornell there was many fraternities and great guys. And so every week I met somebody new.
I feel like once you said to me, like, you had maybe 4 or 5 dates a week?
Sometimes 2 and 3 dates a day.
How did you balance that?
Easily. Somebody for lunch, somebody for drinks, and somebody for dinner.
The difference was you weren't having the sexual connotations. That was not connected to going out for
Right.
lunch and going for dinner. That was a very big difference in the dating scene then. So it was much more innocent. You had a lunch date, you had a dinner date, right, Eileen?
It was a date.
Right,
It was a meal. It wasn't a relationship.
Is there anything about dating in modern day that you just like don't understand at all that you want to get perspective on?
Number one, I never understood anything until I listened to your podcast. I'm still in awe and in shock because it's totally different.
What was the most surprising?
Now, the hookups. I can't get over them. But in my day, the 3 things that mattered to me were first, the brain of the guy, second, good character, and third, he had to be funny. I went up with 2.5%. He's funny, but he has recycled jokes, so I have to bear with them. But I got the brain and the good character. There was no such thing as trying sex. You didn't.
You waited to marriage. That was something you looked forward to. That was the next step. And there were steps in relationships. They weren't 2-year relationships that you would sit home waiting for someone to propose. If they didn't come through in 6 to 8 months or whatever, it was over. You moved on to the next person. Don't you agree, Eileen?
Yes, and the other thing you have to remember, we were told by our grandmas, if you graduate from college and you don't have a ring on it, you're an old maid. True?
Yeah. That's
We were
absolutely
old
true.
maids.
That's
What would I
absolutely
be
true.
considered then?
Oh my God, very old. Because we
Very
both had children.
adventuresome.
We both had children at your age.
Right.
That's how we met. We met when our kids were very small, so we've
Correct.
known each other. And I think that is also a difference now. You haven't got the same family continuity so much as when we had it. In the 60s and 70s, people stayed within a small group and sort of intermingled. And so we knew each other's children. And it was a very nice issue that when somebody said, let me fix you up with my son, or let my daughter go out with your son, that was something we all like to do. Now families are in California, families are in Florida, families are no longer families, and it's not as easy for the next generation to do that. Families don't stay together in the small circles they used to. So that, I think, is an extra problem with dating now.
We're all very close as a family. I think we maybe are not the norm in that way, which we're fortunate to all. The in-laws are close to the in-laws on all of our sides. How important do you think that is that we have that?
We are very, very lucky, and we work on it. We just don't take it for granted. We truly love each other as people and as friends and as family. So that's a great asset. I can't imagine not doing that, because it makes it easy for your children, it makes it easy for your grandchildren, and it just is a great support system. So I can't think of it, Kim, without it. Sorry.
I know. I think that we're very fortunate. In most cases, unfortunately, families aren't as lucky as this. So I think in that case, they have to develop friendships that substitute for grandparents, perhaps, or aunts and uncles that substitute for grandparents. I mean, we are very lucky because generationally, we're still around to give some advice. Whether it's taken or not, we're still blabbering and giving it to you. But I think people who are in other situations have abilities to latch on to somebody and to feel some kind of warmth and confidence in what they might say to you, so that you could rely on their advice. I think it's very hard to go just a couple without any grandparents or parents around. And like so many of the guests we've had on, and we would mistakenly have said, oh, what would your grandmother or grandfather feel? They don't have that. So but it's nice if somebody from the older generation can give advice to them, whether it be an aunt, an uncle, somebody who they work with.
For you, from listening to this podcast, a lot of the feedback I get is like, it reminds me of how my grandma was with me, or like the grandma that I wish that I had, or whatever it is. So I think there's always like someone that can be there for you in that way, even if it is Grandma Gail. I'll share her for a minute. Luckily, you, with both of your children, you both have a girl and a boy. We've all gotten along as a family. What would have happened if you did not like the person that they were bringing home, or those people's parents?
I had that once, but the truth is you have to keep your mouth shut with your children. I mean, you're hoping.
Oh, come on.
Well, we say it, but we know that we can't say very much because it alienates.
She never keeps her mouth shut, does she?
We both agree.
No, I think in this case you could say what you feel to a point, and then you have to be very careful because those people could be your future daughter-in-law or son-in-law. So you can't do too much negativity. You can give your opinion, though. I think if you see somebody as a slacker and you don't like the way their lifestyle is, or that you don't think their job is going anywhere and you're going to not be help to your partner, I think you have to speak up. You can say it, but then after you've said it, it's over, because that's basically all you can do. You can't make somebody live in your image or do it exactly what you want. So you have to hope for the best. And sometimes it works and sometimes it just doesn't. And sometimes you don't like the in-laws or the family. And that's life. That's what it is. You can't, you're not making this out of a cookie cutter type of thing. Everybody is different, and every family is different. And that's also very important, to look at the family before you get into a serious relationship. Make sure you like them, because you do spend a lot of time with your spouse's parents, usually, and sisters and brothers.
Do you agree, Grandma Aileen?
It's complicated. Our other side of the family met a totally different kind of family. Mm-hmm. And we loved them. Mm-hmm. We had only a short time with them because on our son-in-law's side, they passed away within a few years of one another. But they learned about our culture. Right. We learned about their culture, and we made it work.
Mm-hmm. Right. You can make especially when it's like an interfaith relationship.
Correct.
There's, you might think there's less commonality, which there might be, right? So you have to work a little bit harder at that relationship, or you have to connect on different things, really it is at the end of the day. So I asked Grandma Gail this on episode 1, but I want to ask you as well. What have you thought about my previous relationships?
I liked him. Sorry.
Oh, no. That's nice.
I liked the relationship you had in college. I bumped into you on the street with young men. I liked them all, but I didn't really know any of them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an unfair question, because
you haven't met that many.
No, I haven't. And I would like to meet them, but after date 5.
Yeah,
that's a fair conversation, and I think that you haven't brought anybody really around since your college sweetheart that for any long term.
No, college sweetheart is when you marry somebody from college.
Well, he was your college sweetheart.
We didn't get married.
No.
So.
All right, so
you're just my college boyfriend.
College boyfriend. Oh, the semantics are really very difficult. You're right, college boyfriend. And we all liked him very much. So, but. You know what? Everybody moves on, and then there's always a second and a third to fourth love. So that's fine, and you're doing your thing now, and you're having fun. Mm-hmm. So we will look forward to meeting somebody that you will bring home, but for good this time.
Yes.
This time, no practicing. We're not practicing.
We'll practice a little bit more. Grandma Aileen, we did not. I want to backtrack a little bit about how you met your husband, my grandfather. Where and when did you meet? And also, how long have you been married? You didn't say that either.
Our 58th anniversary is this week.
Woo!
Whoopie-doo.
We're all going out to dinner tonight.
Yes. So what happened is I graduated Cornell with no sweethearts. With just...
We're both Cornell grads.
Dating lovely men. And my first job was with Reuter and Finn. It was a public relations company. My accounts were Hotel Corporation of America, and Wise potato chips. And I was in the elevator at 59th Street many, many times with a young man who was a professor at Columbia. And we used to chide each other. Cornell is better, Columbia is better, etc. But he was starting a new university, an international university on Ellis Island, and he needed someone to help fundraise and help run the organization. And he said, if I ever get bored with my job, he's going to double my salary and hire me. And he did. After about a year, I had great experience, but I went to work for him. And he arranged, the first thing we arranged was a theater party. And he gave me a list of people to call. And Alvin Murstein, was on that list. They had been in the Army together. And he said, call everybody and try to get them to buy 2 tickets for this event. I called Al, as I call him now, and he said 50 tickets. And I went, whoa, I think I better meet this guy. And we did. We went to the event. He had a date. I had a date. And from that day on, we dated.
Cute.
See, that's very romantic. Now, what about that jealousy that we were talking about in the last week? Was the other girl jealous of you, Aileen, when she saw that Al was clearly interested in you and not her?
I have no idea.
Oh, all right. Okay.
I was very busy.
Okay, you were running the event.
Running the event, exactly. But then, don't let him hear this, he ran after me for months. I went to, I took a little siesta with my friend from Cornell, and we went to Paris, and we studied a little bit of French, poorly, but at the Sorbonne, and he went there. And I was impressed.
Oh, well, so
I was impressed.
He really ran after you.
He came for the weekend.
He came for you.
Yes.
That was it.
And that was it.
That was
well,
very
guys
romantic.
like the chase, so
Yeah,
I
that
feel
is
like
the
when
chase.
that is the definition of the chase: getting on a plane to Paris to be with you.
It was that's the perfect story, how the man has to run after the woman. So all those girls out there who are thinking you're shooting your shot, forget it. Let the guy come after you and make the approach. Mm-hmm. That's the only way it works in the long run.
Al came from a family of a mom and dad who worked. They both worked, and they worked together. And I knew from age 16 on, I had to work. I loved to work, and I knew he'd give me that freedom. And in the 60s, men didn't give women that freedom. Jewish men didn't.
Right.
They said, you stay home, you be the mother, you run this family. And I said to Al, I'm going to try to do both. And there was a lot of guilt. You know, a lot of times I went to work, and I didn't give them dinner. But he went with the flow. So I think that I knew, because his family worked hard together, that he'd let me work. That's the truth.
So you're getting 2 different perspectives. That's a very interesting thing, because Aileen always worked and did a very great job always doing that. And I never worked. So one was not right and one was not wrong. We had a little guilt trip in the 70s with the women who didn't work. So we had that emotional moment.
Who was guilted?
The women who didn't work. Oh, there was a tremendous backlash with feminism against stay-at-home moms.
Right.
But you know what? Everybody had what they wanted at that
Well,
time.
also
it's different, too. I think now anybody graduating college is going to work. Any woman is going to work.
Yeah.
Or do something. They're not going to just
But there
say,
are still many with the mindset once they get married that they'll stop.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It worked. You do what works for you. Mm-hmm. But I think that that Aileen was way ahead of the women today, because she really was the only woman I knew that really worked other than being a doctor. I mean, I did know.
So we also didn't say you're in real estate.
Right. She's right.
You know, we didn't work every weekend then. I work harder now because I have nobody home. I mean, and Al's okay with it. So you have to have a balance in your life. You have to have a good partner who lets you do your thing, but that you don't neglect.
Right.
What I often say on this podcast is, for a good relationship, the 2 people have to respect each other. That is number one. Whatever your relationship is, it has to be worked through together, and then you respect each other on the decisions you make together. It shouldn't be all one side or the other side. There's a mutual coming to the middle agreement on how you want to lead your lives, whether it be marriage or just living together and doing your own things together. But there has to be a meeting of the minds. You can't just say it's about me. It's not about me. It's about us. That's what a relationship is.
It's freedom with restraint.
Grandma Aileen, how have you experienced women's role in the workplace changing since you have been in it? So how many years now?
50.
Right. So have you seen a distinct change?
I think women are fantastic now. I think they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're heads of major companies. And the one thing that I try to do the whole time is keep my family together. I'm sure I have a lot of guilt because there were a lot of things that I missed. I mean, once our daughter was up a tree at a game, and we thought the other one took her home, and the police called us and said, "Your daughter is still at Christopher Morley Park up a tree. Would you like to come and get her?" So we did. But, I mean, there were mistakes. But I think, for the most part, I like what I've done. And I respect the women today that have incredible careers.
What was the hardest thing to juggle?
Probably, I probably would say going to all of their events, making sure that we were at the basketball games, the baseball games, the concerts, the recitals. Takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
I maybe would have loved to have done something professionally myself, but my mother said to me, "You have one job and that's it."
Yeah.
So I didn't get the support from family to do the other what Aileen did.
Yeah.
Mine was, you're getting married, you're having children, and that's your job.
Aileen, did your parents say something different that made you feel like you were motivated to go work? Did they instill a different value in you than Gail's parents?
No. From the age of 16 on, I begged them to let me work at Macy's. I went to Bronx Science. I went on the train from 162nd Street down to 34th, Monday and Thursday night. I worked all day Saturday. I was 16 and I loved it. They never did it. It came from within. I did it and they just let me do it.
Which was very good. Yeah. I mean, she was really ahead of her time in that. So, I mean, you got to give, women who did that then get a lot more credit than are given, because they were true pioneers and women in the workforce. But there's no right or wrong now. So you can't judge anybody by our standards. We're living in we were living in a more innocent world. We were coming out of World War II. We were coming out of Vietnam. It was a whole different story. And the biggest difference, and I don't, no matter what anybody tells me, the biggest difference is the phone. And the constant use of these communications on the phone. That young people today live and die over Instagram, over all Facebook, over Twitter, and that is the big difference. And I think there is, it's just the social media has changed the world.
Well, you're never out of communication now. People get, on the way here, 2 of my buyers called with issues and problems. Al is a saint, because the truth is they don't stop.
Right. Well,
even
that's
now.
I mean,
people expect, because you have a phone and because you're reachable, that
you're at command 24/7.
100%.
I think that's a bad thing. And I think that's when you go on a family vacation, or if you're going with a friend and you're spending an evening together, the phones should be in your pockets. There is no reason why you have to look at the phones and talk to other people.
I think I understand all of these negative things when it comes to communication. That said, we're really neglecting all of the positive things, like my generation that grew up with a phone. We have access to such great information that we wouldn't have before. how would people that are listening to us now, how would they know your perspective and get this different idea in their head if not listening on a podcast, if not seeing us on Instagram? So it's also like content that can be entertaining and informative and interesting.
No question, Kim, but it's moderation. Eileen, what do you think about
Sharing ideas is amazing now. I mean, I learned so much from the two of you in the past 26 podcasts. I did, because I know our old-fashioned philosophy, and I still like it, and I know your new philosophy, and I like it too. So I think that it's broadened our horizons. We know so much more. We learn so much more. We had the World Book Encyclopedia Britannica, and it came.
Now they don't
Right.
exist.
No.
Remember, your mother used to have. We used to get them monthly. They used to come in a package for a new edition.
Correct.
Nobody even. Now you just go on your phone. You've Googled your whole life away. It's completely different, and it is for the better.
And it is great.
And it is great, and it's terrific. But I think my advice to all of you before I end this today is that just give each other a little more face-to-face conversation and talk to each other. Look at each other in your eyes and say, you know what? Let's talk about something that's important to us today. Don't let the day go by without saying something nice or saying something of interest to each other. Don't look at the phone when you're with somebody that you care about.
And say something positive.
Oh, yeah, right, especially in this world.
Definitely. Say something positive. Help one another grow. Just enjoy it.
I love the positivity on both ends. Grandma Aileen, is there anything else, dating advice that you would offer people listening around my age?
Ooh, that's tough, only because I like what you guys do. I like that you're individuals, that you're freer, that you're more open, that you try different things together. I love that. I miss that because we were so restricted and we were so prudish.
Well, we weren't prudish. It was just what we just weren't in. We just didn't think differently. That was ingrained in us, and that's what we did. And now, good luck to all of you young people today. I think you're doing great jobs together, and hopefully your relationships will be as rewarding as ours have been. And that's all we can wish you.
I want to know, between the two of you, how do you think that you're the most different, and how do you think that you're the most similar?
I think we're the most similar in that we love our families, that we adore our children, we love our grandchildren, and we have probably the same values. I think where the most different is that Eileen is good at everything,
No way.
and I am very good at critiquing.
No.
That's my forte. But as far as you could never compete with Eileen in golf, you could never do it in most things. She was extra special in all these areas, and but we never had a competition.
You don't have to say was. We're all alive.
We're alive. Well, we're still critiquing. We're
Right.
still critiquing.
Well, I always got a kick out of Gail. She speaks her mind. You know where she stands. There's no guessing. And I think it's great. I think it's wonderful that she loves family so much. She does keep us together. I think that it's a plus. What can I say? I really am not a negative person. So I'm happy with status quo.
We're good with what we've got. If we analyze it too much, we'll have a nervous breakdown.
Right.
So let's not analyze.
Right.
Kimmy, I think you've done a great job in bringing us together. Now we have to get some more grandmas on this program, which is not so easy.
Yes, if any grandmas listening or any of you want your grandmas to come on, we are in the market to do a little group podcast interview. So let us know.
Grandma Aileen will come back. So we'll have a whole panel.
I love it.
Grandma Aileen, Grandma Gail, thank you for another great week of Excuse My Grandma. You know how to follow us on Instagram, TikTok at Excuse My Grandma. Send in your questions. Tell us how you liked the episode. And thank you both for being here.
Okay, hugs and kisses to everyone.
Bye.
Bye.